We're starting to take the first question now from Sheikh. Hey, would multiple contribution be accepted during the crowd sale windows? Like say for example, 1,000 Ether in window one and then 5 Bitcoins in window two, for example. So it's asking if there could be a combination of both ethers in different multiples.
Yes, the crowd sale contract itself accepts Ether, and we calculate your modifier and the US dollar value at the time of your contribution, but we calculate your number of tokens at the end of the crowd sale. So, for example, you put in $12,000 worth of Ether in the first round, then you would be eligible for the proposer badge at that point, and then you put in more throughout the crowd sale. And so that US dollar value is then calculated at your contribution, at the time of your contribution, but the amount of tokens that you would get would be calculated at the end of the crowd sale rounds.
One question from Park as well was where can he purchase such DGG tokens? I think we listed on the Slack channel a possible demo page right now. So Anthony, would like to brief a little bit more about when and how will this live pitch be on the sales site?
So we're still planning setting the date for the beginning of the crowd sale. But once we have announced that, there's going to be a website that you're going to sign in with your email and password. You provide an email and password, sign up to it, and then from there there will be an Ethereum address, and as well as instructions on how to set up Mist and how to get coins or Ethereum into your Mist wallet using Shapeshift. So we'll provide instructions on that, and there will be a payment address that you will send your Ether to from your Mist wallet. So we're going to be using your Ethereum address as your payout address. So if you have a Mist client or an Ethereum client like Death or Eth or Parity, you can send your payments from a wallet on there. And we're doing that because that's where we were going to be providing your tokens to at the end of the crowd sale, and also we will be providing you with the contract interfaces so that you can interact with the DAO from Mist directly. So it will be we will be announcing that soon. Maybe Casey or Sean can tell you guys about like the plan on when the crowd sale will begin, but there'll be a 4 to 6 week period. We're still trying to decide the particulars as far as like how long the crowd sale is going to.
Right. Casey, do you have anything to add on this for now?
Yeah, so currently we're sticking to our crowd sale plans to launch on March 30th, GMT 0000.
Right, so we have 3 really interesting questions from Tyler that he sent via email last night. They would like to share with you all here. So what is the optimal wallet to make a contribution from? An Ethereum home state wallet? And will there be an exchange wallet that is supported, such as Poloniex? This is the first question.
We can't accept exchange wallets because we actually detect the originating wallet as the crowdfunder wallet. So you would need to send that your exchange coins first into your Mist wallet. We will so you need to use Mist for the crowd sale because that's where the coins are going to be, and actually going to be needing that to actually use your coins as well, because a lot of these online wallets do not support metacurrencies on Ethereum. Like the Jax wallet, I think doesn't even have doesn't let you use like another coin like Rep. So if you send your coins there, it's going to be difficult for you to send that out. So we actually encourage you to use Mist, and we will be providing you guys with instructions on how to download and get Mist up and running.
The second question that he asked was, if we are in fact accepting Bitcoin deposits, how will the distributor indicate the Ethereum address that they want the DGG token sent?
So from within Mist, there is an actual button that lets you send that will let you send your altcoins into your Ethereum wallet converted through Shapeshift. So that's actually part of Mist DAO, the latest version of Mist. There's a button. If you go into your wallet, there's a button that basically brings up a shapeshift window pre-filled with your Ethereum address that lets you basically put your coins on.
The third question was contribution with value at the end of the crowd sale and not upon the contribution of the funds at real time.
So the so the contribution will be done. The amount of contribution that you provide will be done at the time of your contribution. The amount of tokens that you would receive are calculated at the end, because that's it's proportional. So the number of coins that you'll receive is proportional to the share that you provided. So for example, you put in then that's calculated against the total amount that's raised at the end. But your modifier and the value, the exchange value to US dollars are calculated at the time that you submit your payment.
Right, I think this was a concern due to Ether pricing moving throughout the crowd sale from day 1 to day 30. So
yeah, so that's been the case for every crowd sale ICO on like blockchain ICOs, right? So even Ethereum had that the price movements that were happening around that time, and Augur as well. So that's not new to us. That's not new to the crypto scene.
While letting questions stream in, there are 2 points I'd like to address here. Firstly, what kind of projects could someone actually see on the platform?
So one of the things that we're looking to actually integrate fairly quickly is at the end of the crowd sale is a way for people to exchange Digix Gold against other Ethereum-based assets, as well as Bitcoins, not through our marketplace, but actually be able to actually put an offer for your Digix Gold tokens for Bitcoins using EtherX as well as BTC Relay. BTC Relay is basically a project that has been incubated by Consensus. It's a protocol and software that you run as a verifier node on Bitcoin, and that integrates with Ethereum. So Bitcoin payments can then verified within an Ethereum contract itself. That's through the relay, through the Bitcoin Relay nodes that are ran. So we will be running, we will be integrating, doing software development for the UI, as well as running BTC Relay nodes for this. And the BTC Relay nodes actually gain transaction fees for providing that service. So the operating costs of that would be subsidized from those fees. But as far as that development goes, we'd like the DAO to actually fund that project, the development project, so that we can integrate that with Digix, as well as get that up and running, so people can start putting offers for their Digix Gold tokens on Bitcoin, because I think that's a very good way for them to sell their tokens in a decentralized way without using a centralized exchange. So EtherX is another service that's incubated by Consensus, and that's centralized market. That's a decentralized exchange for Ethereum-based tokens. So it allows you to trade Digix against Augur's rep tokens, or against Locket DAO tokens, or any other assets that are built, any coins that are actually created. Even like any standard coin that you'd see created can be exchanged on EtherX. So I think that's one of the first projects that we're looking at. Another one is a peer-to-peer lending platform. I think that gold is a very, being a stable store of value, it holds the value fairly well, and it's a very perfect collateral on a crypto platform. Crypto, by its nature, is very volatile because of the high speculation of the price, like high price speculation on it. So you can see 20%, 30% drop. So it makes it a very bad token for using as a collateral, because that exposes the collateral holder to the volatility risk. But with gold, there's price stability. Historically, it's shown good price stability, and that makes it a good collateral token for contracts on Ethereum. So for peer-to-peer lending, insurance, and all these things would be a good thing to use gold for. So I think those projects would make sense for DigixDAO to engage in. Obviously, there's more things that you guys can think about. We're also looking to integrate with payment gateways such as Coinify, so allows merchants to actually accept Digix Gold tokens as a form of payment. So that's one thing that we're actively in talks with Coinify to integrate, and there's going to be some UI development and some other marketing stuff around that we would like the DAO to actually contribute to.
Right. I think that was very detailed in terms of the future plans that we lay out here. And yeah, I'd like to note, of course, the DAO, the DAO's projects will always go to support the transaction volume that comes in at Digix. So before I come back onto the last point, I'd like to address the remaining three questions that are on the portal here. So is the amount that is determined based off the Ether value contributed instead of the equivalent US dollar at the moment of payment? So I think his question was, which is the one that's used to charge? Yeah.
Yeah, so basically what happens is that there's the Crowdsale contract itself. It's an Ethereum contract that has an address that actually is fed an Ether USD price. So that you can actually query that before you put your contribution in. We'll provide that view in Mist, so you'll be able to see when you submit an Ether payment what the approximate number of US dollars you would be credited to. So when you submit your Ether payment, the USD value is then calculated against that variable, and then during the time that you submitted it, it also looks at the time when you submitted it, and that calculates the modifier that you would get. So on the ledger itself, it would tell you, it would put in your address, it would put in your Ether, the amount of Ether that you had contributed as part of the whole contract call chain, and then at the end is the US dollar value that's been calculated, and you can verify that that's actually what's being done through your entire when you send a payment. You can look at the Block Explorer. So that's done. That's calculated. That's how we calculate the price that you put in.
The contribution, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll actually put this. We'll actually put this on the testnet today, so you'll be able to test this if you have coins on Morden, or if you guys want coins on Morden, you guys can ask me. I can give you some coins. I've mined a lot of testnet coins recently, so if you guys want to play around and see how it works and test that, you can.
Right. Okay. So the next point regarding KYC is, will the KYC chain be implemented in the DigixDAO? I think it refers to the DigixDAO contribution, and how will this be looking like in the future?
So the DAO itself does not do a KYC. Historically there has not been a KYC requirement for these type of ICOs and tokens. When you join Ethereum's initial token sale last year, you basically, or 2 years ago, you basically just provided your email and they gave you a wallet to put in your Ether in. So we're not doing KYCs for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Casey, would you like to add on the future KYC plans or anything that we could always mention about with regards to this? I think it's a pretty common concern.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently the laws in Singapore are very clear-cut and straightforward. With regards to virtual currencies, they're not being regulated, they're not considered a security, and they're also not being considered as legal tender. So the software crowd sale that we do is also not regulated in Singapore. So we're in a very, very perfect jurisdiction to run such a crowd sale.
Yeah, and additionally, like the actual existing laws regarding crowd in Singapore only apply to actual equity and not for reward-based tokens. So that also gives us some allow leeway to operate this this DAO and then this crowd sale.
Right, but I mean, on top of that as well, we always work regularly with regulators here just to be compliant, and we always take a front approach of being up to date with relevant laws and any news that comes around. So the next point is, are there any plans for Digix Silver given the focus on the gold bug community? Silver tokens may be a very useful product to be launched here on Digix Core. Is there any points to add?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think that silver itself, is very attractive to a lot of people. The problem with silver is that it is very, it's a lot bulkier than gold. So that means that it actually requires to actually scale up the our contract with our the existing custodian that we have. So that is in consideration. I think the second asset that we'll be listing will be actually be diamonds beforehand, and then because it's a lot different than gold, so we want to put that in place as well. And then after that is silver and platinum, and all the other metals that are offered. So that's already being considered. And yes, the DAO token holders would be receiving transaction fees from those.
And also back to future product offerings, I'd like to actually ask Casey a couple of points here. What do you think is like the forward-looking vision of what Digix Global and DigixDAO is to go hand in hand together?
I think right after the crowd sale, I think DigixDAO's main vision is to generate transaction volume for Digix Gold tokens. So whatever we do, whatever peripherals that we add onto our system would go into building out this vision and this goal.
Yeah. So basically, if you guys look at the history of digital gold, eGold was one of the first ones. They got shut down because of regulations. They were not prudent about following regulations. But at one point, they were doing $2 billion US worth of transactions per year. So that was around in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the internet was a lot smaller. We didn't have Facebook, we didn't have social net like larger social media platforms. You just had Yahoo Chat, and AOL. So it wasn't as big before. So I think that with the DAO and Digix Core working together, I think we can easily achieve that transaction volume and basically make Digix one of the de facto gold tokens on the internet and beyond. So one of the projects that we're also working on is actually doing a mobile wallet for Digix Gold tokens. So that allows you to do payments at the point of sale. We're also thinking about doing point of sale integration, and then reach out to merchants to be able to accept gold tokens off the bat just from a mobile wallet. We recently hired a UI developer that's going to be helping us with the mobile application as well.
Right. Okay, I think that was really well covered in terms of future looking. Yes. And one point from David here is, can we explain how DGX are created, traded, and exchanged for physical gold? Because ultimately the DGD token relies on Digix transactions.
Yes. So basically the way that so basically the life cycle of a Digix Gold token begins from the physical gold bar. So either a customer buys a physical gold bar through the Digix Gold marketplace, and they purchase that gold bar, which is then documented. So the first document that's created, it contains a series of documents. The first document that's created is the vendor receipt. So that receipt then contains a scan and a photograph of the physical gold bar, as well as the scan of the gold assay from the gold manufacturer that the gold is sourced from. And it's attached to a document that is signed by the custodian, and it puts a serial number on it, and that creates the contract. So each gold asset that is on the Digix Gold platform is an Ethereum contract that is deployed at that point. And then after that, that contract is then sent to the custodian. So the gold itself is delivered to the custodian, and the contract is put into a pending custodian status. So once the custodian then receives that physical gold and looks at the documentation to see that it matches the documentation, the custodian then signs with his private key to put that to basically acknowledge the receipt of that gold and puts it in storage. And then what happens then is that gold is then activated. That activated means that physical gold bar can then be sent and received to anybody. So now if the user decides that he wants to convert that physical gold into gold tokens, he then sends that contract itself using a function call on the contract to send it to the token minter. So the minter basically takes that contract and looks at price that is an active like gold, and that the storage fees are paid off, and it's a valid contract for sending, and then receives that gold and holds it in its own balance, and then sends the equivalent amount of gold tokens, equivalent to 1 token is 1 gram of gold. So it sends that to the person that owned that contract. So he exchanges it for those tokens. Now Digix also mints its own gold tokens through that same process, and then we make that available through the marketplace. But in the future, we're just going to be minting that and putting that up on the exchange itself, on EtherX itself. So right now, the process is basically goes through that same process. But once we have EtherX and BTC Relay, we'll just basically mint that.
But speaking of receipts, speaking of proof of this asset, can we just speak a little bit about our participating oracles here, the 3 different businesses that we work with together? Casey, you have a point to add on?
Yeah, sure. So ValueMax themselves, they are a renowned pawnbroker as well as a bullion dealer in Singapore. They're an IPO company listed in the main board in the Singapore Stock Exchange. And Malka Amit, who is our custodian, is located at the Singapore Freeport, which is actually the Fort Knox of Asia. It has billions of dollars of assets being stored in there. Malka Amit themselves are also being used by financial institutions to store assets as well. Now, Bureaus Veritas Inspectorate, they have been in existence for about a century, and they are specialized in auditing gold bullion for end users. So we're taking credible and renowned corporations to integrate this blockchain technology with them to create our proof of asset protocol.
Yeah, so also additionally, Malka Amit is insured and underwritten by Lloyd's of London. If you guys actually do a Wikipedia on Lloyd's of London, they have been around for about 300 plus years. So they have a very strong history of insuring a lot of things, from cities to property to actual holdings and vaults. They've done that. They've weathered through a lot of natural disasters and a lot of catastrophic events throughout history. So I think that's their history shows that they're very good at actually taking those insurance, providing insurance. So Kai mentioned earlier, we have a monitor that actually does a quarterly audit of the physical assets to make sure that nobody actually came and put that our gold through the process and then left and changed it for a fake bar. So every quarter that audit process is put in place to ensure trust. And also, if for example, let's say that that we have the third month that the gold is there and the audit takes place, if there's any discrepancy, Digix is actually obligated to actually fix that, because the responsibility lies with us to make sure that the gold is on there. So we actually there's in the contract itself, it actually locks the asset, so we actually have to fix that in order for the contracts to actually run again and continue its operation. So basically, Bureau Veritas also signs those audits, and they put the document also up on IPFS. So the receipt, the custodian receipt, the physical gold receipt from the vendor, as well as the the audit receipts, our audit documents are all put on IPFS, and the IPFS hash address is then referenced on the contract itself. So it can be viewed through the Explorer.
Great. Two questions from the viewers before we probably wrap this up. The first one is, are there any consideration for integration with Shapeshift? I think this could be related or non-related to maybe the Crowdsale.
No. I think it's integrating gold tokens with Shapeshift.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's what I meant, right?
Yeah,
So
I think that's what you meant. Yeah.
so Shapeshift actually, all they do is like basically integrate with the existing exchanges such as Poloniex and I think Poloniex and Bittrex and a few other exchanges. So they basically take your coins and put up a market order for those tokens. So that would be contingent upon the gold tokens being listed on those exchanges. And I think that's also we've had initial talks with them in the past, and they're looking for volume. So once we have the volume, and then we get community support to basically ask them to list those tokens, that would easily quickly be on Shapeshift at some point. So
Right.
it depends on and I think that the DAO itself would be able to help us achieve being listed on Shapeshift. I think that would be a wonderful thing to have. There's other tokens which have similar properties, not gold tokens, but other things that are more centralized that have been listed on Shapeshift in the past. So I think that our gold tokens being listed should not really be a problem. With the help of the DAO, I think that would be actually happen sooner than later.
I think with most exchangers, their key concern here is to see transaction volumes. And we have been speaking to co-founders of a couple of exchanges, so we hope and expect to actually announce something in the very near future upon the release of the DAO. So
if you guys look at Tether is a US dollar based crypto token. I don't know if it's even really decentralized. Actually, you actually have to sign up on their website to get to access Tether. But that can they're listed on Shapeshift, so you can use you can exchange Tether with other crypto assets on Shapeshift. So I think using that example, I think that like DigixGold can easily be listed because we're actually a lot more decentralized than Tether.
what is the procedure for including or certifying any new vendor, custodian, auditor in Digix? I think the key consideration here is, apart from credibility and having a historical record of being, safe, secure, we also look for synergies between ourselves and the oracles that we could possibly get on board. But at the moment, we're actually looking for them to have independent interests of each other in terms of the business operating aspect. Casey, would you like to add a couple of points on this?
Yeah, the idea is to keep each process separate and independent from one another. So we can't have, say, Malka Ahmed selling us the gold as well as depositing the gold, because then it would break this tri-party trust process and governance. So for a vendor to sign on, it has to be separate from the other forms of business in the entire process. So that's one thing that we have to pay attention of. The second thing is we need to understand their background and see what kind of relationships they have with refiners. And we definitely would have to do our due diligence before they can be onboarded as one of the three entities in this
price is also very
process.
important as well. So they have to be able to offer us at near spot price for it to make sense, right? Because we're trying to we have to make sure that the price is uniform throughout all the throughout all the vendors, for example. As far as the custodian as well, like that has to be also uniform because of the storage fees that we have to pay them, and insurance also is very important. So they all have to have like high standards, the same standards that we've had with the initial default providers that we have. So that would be very crucial. And a lot of due diligence and research has to be done before they get on board.
Right. This is an interesting question from David here is, how would transaction fees for DGX tokens be generated as they are traded several times a day or minimally, a couple of times? So this point, I think
So
relates
that's
to.
done. Yeah, so that's calculated at the time of transfer. So every time you transfer it, there's a storage or there's a transaction fee that's assessed at your transfer, it's a maximum of 1 gram of storage fees per transfer, which is about the equivalent of sending a kilogram of gold in one single transaction. So it's assessed at every time that you send as a transaction. So it's like making a credit card payment or a Bitcoin payment. When you send a Bitcoin payment, the transaction fee is deducted at that point.
Right, I think there are two process observations here. One is the minting process as well as a transfer of DGX tokens from peer to peer. Are these two forms of observations, are they considered transaction fees?
No. So minting itself is there's no fee to mint it, and we put that in place so that encourage people to convert their gold assets into gold tokens. There is no transaction fee at the point of minting. But during the recast, so if you wanted to redeem your physical gold, there is a fee, and you also have to incur the transaction fees for sending your tokens to the recaster to convert it back into physical gold bar.
Would exchanging on Polynex circumvent our 0.13% rebate through the DAO?
Not necessarily. So there's a lot of discussions on how an exchange would actually integrate these Ethereum-based assets on Ethereum, and because Ethereum itself is a lot different from other cryptocurrencies. There's the standard coin API has this concept called an approved spender. So in a traditional exchange, like a crypto exchange setup, what you normally do is you send your tokens into to the exchange's payment address, and then your deposit is then credited accordingly, and they basically trade inside their own database. So when you're trading in an exchange like Poloniex or Mt. Gox, or like those, pretty much every exchange, they do it all within their internal ledger. So that circumvents the transaction fees of Bitcoin, for example. But in Ethereum, since we have this standard token API, all you need to do really is to allow the exchange to spend from your account is to actually approve them for a certain amount. So what you can do then is the exchange would then integrate it using that concept. You would deposit, instead of depositing to an exchange address, what you do is you approve the exchange's Ethereum address to be able to spend up to a certain amount from your balance. So that's the way that exchanges would integrate it. That's how I see it working in the future, because they actually need to be able to compete with EtherX as far as these tokens go. So I think that in the future, that's how they're going to actually do it, instead of you depositing your tokens in a centralized wallet, which would then make it prone to theft, right? There's been a lot of altcoin thefts and Bitcoin thefts in the past because of that architecture itself. But with Ethereum, it's a lot more secure, because you're just authorizing a key to spend that amount. So you can even do it that you only authorize for a certain amount when you want to make that trade, and it's done fairly quickly. It's in a per block thing on Ethereum. So I don't think that exchanges would be able to circumvent those transaction fees because of this structure in place with that.
Right, okay. Yeah, the next point from Sheikh is, could we actually be talking briefly about Slocky collaboration and the final decision? Right now we're tying up the ends on our part for this, and we will be making announcements shortly via the Slack chat. So if there's any question regarding this point, we could always head off over
We'll
to the
send out an
Slack
email
chat.
as well. We'll send out an email, and we'll also be continuing these webinars on a weekly basis. After this week, we're also going to be doing it once a week until the crowd sale at the end of the crowd sale. And I think we're going to keep this account also during when the DAO is in existence, because we'd like people to discuss proposals and ideas to the Slack chat. So we're gonna have a more open forum in the future. But as far as the collaboration discussions, we'll be putting information on that fairly shortly. We're still finalizing things and see what needs to be done.
Right. The last
We'll,
point.
we'll make that announcement.
Right. The last point here. Given the fragmentation of the ownership of Digix tokens, is there a recuperation of say 1,000 gram of on physical gold a realistic process, or are users forever stuck with a Digix tokens unless they trade it on an exchange that's available?
No, not necessarily. We because of things like BTC Relay and all these services, people will be able to actually trade that for Bitcoins and other assets, and they can also redeem it. So we have a physical gold redemption process as well. That is also part of the contract call that you can call to physically redeem your gold bar. So the minimum is 100 grams. So it's not forever stuck, but we want to encourage people to keep the gold in the system because that's our business model. But it's not impossible, and actually we also pay our storage fees from the gold tokens as well. So we actually do redeem that through the same process. So it is redeemable.
Right. I think over the last couple of weeks where we have hosted all these webinars, the team here at Digix, we all agree that we have learned a great deal from webinar viewers like yourself. So we will be continuing to utilize such kind of communicating message platform over time. When after the crowd sale ends, we'll be taking questions regarding the projects and the proposals that were being posted on the DAO. So yeah, I think with that we have really answered all the questions here. If you have any further questions, you may always post them on the Slack chat that we have. I think that's a very healthy group of discussion going on right now. And for any other points, you can always visit the sales site in various different languages, and please try to share the content around with your other friends and community just to get a word out of this DigixDAO, because the success ultimately hinges on the amount of people that we can get and outreach to. So Casey, Anthony, any last points to add on this? Or?
Yeah, so yeah, going further on what Sean just said is I think that the success of this crowd sale is really dependent on like everybody really sharing this information with everybody, and creating content and helping other people. I think that our community has grown the last month. Like the Slack chat has a lot more members than when we started, and also our mailing list has also increased in membership. So I think that we're getting to a point where we're the saturation point where I think that the crowd sale will be successful with a lot more like the current audience, but we can go further than that, and if we share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, various forums, discuss that. I saw recently that there was a Bitcoin talk discussion already that's been put up by somebody else. That's not us. So I think that people doing that, sharing it, discussing it, seeing what the other people's questions have, and then giving that back to us so we can respond would be good. So I think communication is very important, and we are keeping our open lines of communication in our Slack chat room. As also you can submit a support ticket as well through our website. If you have further questions or other people that may have questions, you can send them to us.
Hi. No, I think Anthony covered it very well. Just to reiterate shortly, we just really need the help of everyone to make sure that DigixDAO is a success. We can't do it alone, and any of your help would be much appreciated.
Thank you all for joining this session of the last session of the webinar. We're going to continue to post questions throughout, and we will take them.
I'll put the link also to our crowd sale site and more information. So we're going to be announcing the start and the schedule in the next couple of days or so, and but keep your eyes posted on our website, which is I'm going to be putting that on the chat room window right now, and if you have other questions, just reach out to us. The sale site will be updated very shortly as well, and that will contain the schedule as well as a timer on when the crowd sale will happen, and as well as the payment address and instructions on how to join. We'll be providing that to you guys on the website and on the Slack.
Cool. All right. Thank you all. We'll see you on Slack and see you around. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys.
Have a great Easter weekend.